Hello everyone and welcome to this video. Let us continue our discussion now on organic chemistry. The last video we discussed about functional groups and how we can name organic compounds based on functional groups. Now let us move forward and talk about some further classification. Today in this video we want to see how we can classify different families of organic compounds based on the position of functional group. Okay, we want to classify based on the position of their functional group. Why we want to study this? Because in the coming videos we want to see some chemical properties, and for that we must identify, or we should understand the classification based on functional group. Let's first talk about halogenalkanes. This is a very important group. Why? Because with this we are going to study a very important chemical reaction which is called free radical substitution. Okay, let's say we have a carbon which is attached to the functional group, any halogen. Let's say it is chlorine. We have a carbon, it is attached to chlorine, and this carbon with whom the functional group is connected is further connected to one carbon only. As much as it's fine, but this particular carbon which is connected to the functional group here is only connected to one more carbon. No restriction on this carbon, how many it wants he can connect, but this one which is connected to the functional group should be connected to one carbon only. This is called like 1 degree carbon because it's connected to one more, and this compound is classified as primary. We call this is like a primary halogenalkane, and we can name it like 1-chloropropane, like a chloropropane or 1-chloropropane, same thing, because chlorine is connected to the first carbon. Okay, this is like primary. The main classification is that this is a primary compound. Now look at this one. You have a carbon which is attached to the functional group chlorine. Okay, this carbon is attached to the functional group chlorine. Let me draw it like this so it becomes easy to understand. Like this is the carbon which is attached to chlorine, and this carbon which is attached to chlorine is now connected to two more carbons. Here if you see, it's connected to one carbon only, and here the one which is connected to chlorine is further connected to two carbons. When it is connected to two carbons, we say it is 2-degree carbon because it's connected to two carbons, and this time this halogenalkane is called secondary. This is secondary, and what will be the name of this compound? This will be 2-chloropropane. You got the difference? Like in the first one, which is primary, the carbon which is attached to the functional group is only attached to one more carbon. In the secondary one, the carbon which is attached to the functional group is now connected to two carbons. Now what you do? The carbon which is attached, the carbon attached with the functional group chlorine, now if it is attached to three more carbons, like you have a branch here also, if it is connected to three more carbons, now these can be carbons, can be hydrogens. So now this one, because this carbon with the functional group now is with three carbons, 1, 2 and 3. This is 3-degree carbon. So this compound is now classified as tertiary, which is 3-degree. How can you name it? This is like 2-chloro, because the chlorine is attached to the second carbon, then 2-methyl propane. If you have issues how I can name this, you should go to the previous video and see how we can name organic compounds, the nomenclature of organic compounds. You will be having a better picture there. This is how you can classify halogenalkanes. It's a very important family. In the same way, we can also classify alcohols. Why I want to talk about alcohols? Because we have very important reactions of alcohols coming up, which is like oxidation. So we want to talk about it. Similarly, you remember the functional group of alcohol is OH. If this is carbon which is connected to the functional group is further connected to one more carbon, Like here, anyone, it's enough. How much you want, you can make the chain bigger, but the one which is attached to the functional group is attached to one carbon only, nothing else, not no other carbons. It should be hydrogens. Like it can be hydrogens, that's fine, but it cannot be carbons. So then this is classified as 1 degree carbon, and this is primary alcohol. This is a primary alcohol. This is 3 carbon. You can call it propanol. Some books can also call it propanol 1ol. Like they can put the position of functional group. Okay, this is fine. Both are fine. Now, similarly, if the carbon which is attached to the functional group is further attached to 2 carbons, like here you have a carbon and here you also have a carbon, like this. Or if you want, you can draw it like this also. Carbon OH is further attached to 2 carbons. Like the functional group is this, and this carbon has carbon here and a carbon here, 2 carbons, so it is 2 degree carbon. So this is will be a secondary one. And how do you see the names of this? You have like propane, like in the last lecture we see 2ol, propane 2ol. And then the third one is the tertiary one. It is like the carbon attached to the functional group is further attached to 3 carbons. We call it what? Tertiary alcohol. What will be the name of this? We have this one, 2-methyl propane 2ol. Okay, this is how you can classify alcohols. One more group I want to discuss with you also, that is the amine one. Amines, like amines can also be classified as primary, secondary and tertiary. If you remember from the last video, we discussed about amines. It has like nitrogen based the compounds, organic compounds which have nitrogen in them. Like you have a nitrogen, for example, if I draw one amine, I have carbon bonded with carbon bonded with carbon, 3 carbons. This is now connected to the functional group N, and here I have H, and here I have a H. These are all hydrogens. This is one amine. Now amine, when you want to classify them as primary, secondary or tertiary, you want to look to nitrogen. This is nitrogen. This nitrogen is connected to one carbon, and remaining it is hydrogen only. Then this is 1 degree amine, and 1 degree amine is called primary. This is a primary one. You want to see the nitrogen. Nitrogen connected to one carbon, it's called primary. How will you name it? It's called prop, because it is 3 carbon, propane 1 amine. You can call it propamine also, or propane 1 amine. In case of 2 degree, this is nitrogen, same structure. You are coming here like carbon, 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 then you have a nitrogen here. This nitrogen is now here, it is 1 carbon. In secondary, you have a 2 carbon structure. When it is 2 carbon, you call it 2 degree and it's called tertiary. And if it is 3, like you have a nitrogen here, you have here also, and here also a branch carbon, 3 carbons now. Now this will be called what? This is called tertiary. Tertiary or 3 degree ones. So this is how you can classify organic compounds based on the position of functional group as primary, secondary and tertiary. We took some examples. Now in the next video we will see the chemical reactions of some important families, which includes like alkanes, alkenes, alkynes and some more stuff to come. Thank you so much, and this video is all about classification. See you next time. Thank you.